Visitors of Philadelphia mostly come to see historical icons of America. In Philadelphia, tourists can gaze upon Independence Hall, where the Second Continental Congress resided. They can take multiple pictures of Liberty Bell, which represents the freedom of all peoples in America. Tourists can also take a tour of Betsy Ross's house, who is credited with making the first American flag. Yet if one were to travel off the beaten path, a tourist would find Washington Park, which is adjacent to Independence Hall. Between a row of trees stands an almost unmarked tomb with the monument of George Washington behind it. The rich history of this park is usually overlooked by tourists, since the Philadelphia Information Center does not offer tourists information on the site. Here in Washington Square lay thousands of soldiers from the War of Independence. They're in these large, massive graves. Back then, there were no records, there were no photos, there were no dog tags to keep track of who were buried in these massive graves. Instead, if you were in the hospital, you were taken out that day, and you were put into a grave with everyone else. So here is the tomb of the unknown soldier, with George Washington standing behind him to watch over the soldier as he rests. When William Penn decided to draw up the plans for the 5 parks he wanted to put in the city, he never dreamed that one of his parks would be used for a potter's field. That is, a place to bury unwanted people. Strangers to the city who died while passing through, or slaves who were not allowed to be buried in church graves, were brought to the field to be laid to rest. The potter's field was later turned into a massive gravesite for soldiers from the War of Independence. There were more men dying from wounds every day than there were grave diggers. The soldiers were not discriminated by anything other than the day that they died. President John Adams recalls his feelings of walking through the park one day with these words: "The graves of the soldiers who've been buried in this ground from the hospital and veteran house during the course of last summer, fall, and winter, dead of smallpox and camp diseases, are enough to make the heart of stone melt away." You see, men poured from all of the nearby battles to Pennsylvania Hospital and the Veteran House for the Poor to get medical treatment from the city's doctors. In 1954, the Washington Square Planning Committee decided to put up a memorial. Naturally, they decided to dedicate the square to one of the soldiers who died in the War of Independence. After many diggings, they finally found a massive gravesite that had an oak coffin in it. Inside the oak coffin was the body of a soldier. It would be this young who would rest in front of George Washington to remind all visitors that freedom is a light for which many men have died in darkness.